we decided that in Hyvärilä Youth Center, we're going to be sharing our local cultural heritage, which is Kalevala epics. It's basically, if you have an idea of what Greek mythology is, there is that kind of Karelian mythology, very similar, which talks about gods and the creation of the earth and creation of the humankind and war and hatred and villains and marriages and trade, everything. It explains a lot of things about how the world functions in a very long, complex way. So for us, we wanted to create some game to introduce this piece of cultural heritage in a fun way, in a way that would present the scope of Kalevala as a story that contains magic, that contains adventure, that would in general present who are the main characters, and are they good people, are they bad people, are they like other people, not so set in their ways. So for that, we used our territory, and I'm sharing my screen with you now to show our youth center territory, which is quite big. And I want to show it with you, to share it with you, just so you understand what were our kind of limitations and our grounds on game design. So this is what we're working with. It's quite big territory. It's on the shore of the lake, and there is many buildings around. And we understand that we're working in Finland, which is so green in the summer, and then it's so white in winter. And we understand that our limitations would have to deal with accessibility, because in winter there is a lot of snow, so not every place is accessible, and we have a lot of bad rainy days. So if we hide some clues, they have to stay available year round for those people who are playing. And that was kind of the basic points of how our game would be shaped in the future. When we thought about those players, who is the game for? Why are we even designing that? For us, it was the young people who came with their parents maybe, or camp schoolers who came to our youth centers and they have some free time, they want to do something. So it was independent groups that would want to spend some fun time without guidance in their free time. And the age group for them would be around teenage years. So we understand that if the game is played by general camp schoolers, they are age 13 to maybe 15, and they would play without the guidance. But if it's independent visitors who are families with children, they would be under age of 13 probably, but then their parents would be with them. So those were our building blocks, kind of the target group, of the location, and leader or no leader of the game. So for us, it would be no leader, because it's free time activities, because at this point, teachers are elsewhere and youth workers are elsewhere, and it would be something for groups maybe under 4 persons who would play just one group at a time. So not so busy, not like a whole class playing at the same time. We used Cities of Learning platform to base our game, and we created a game scenario that would be positioned around our youth center, and that consists of several tasks. So the game starts by scanning a QR code at the reception door. So you can play this game even when the reception is closed and you're outside, and you can still start the game by scanning a QR code. At the door, we have a description that, hey, we invite you to play this outdoor escape game. It will take you under 1 hour. You need your phone, and you need to scan this QR code in order to start. If you are under 12 years old, make sure that you're playing with your parents. And since we know that we have some Finnish guests who are staying and some people from abroad, our game is both in English and in Finnish languages. Once you scan the QR code to start the game, it takes you to Cities of Learning platform, and it asks you to log in using your Google Mail or some Hotmail. Basically, your email address is enough to access the game. And it brings you to the first page that gives you the map of the area and some introduction. So we start telling the story of strangers who woke up after some accident. Some accident happened. They woke up here on the shore of Lake Pielinen, and they don't know what happened to them, but there is a scrap, something in their pocket, and they take it out, and it turns out to be the map of the area. And around that area, there is some danger zone. And there we explain that the old witch Louhi has her scary dogs that guard the area around, so you are not allowed to access. And when we talk about the location and how to find the suitable location for the game, for us that was a challenge, because in an escape room, your reality is limited by the walls and the door. So it's quite clear where you can go or where you cannot go. And even in escape rooms, if something is not involved in the game, then game organizers would put some no touching sign that says that do not touch this lamp. For example, the lamp is not playing in the game. Please do not remove this shelf. The shelf is not playing. But what would you do when you're outside and there is no way to put stickers on everything around because there is so many objects around? In our way, we decided to take this map of the area and make the gray zone. We tested the game several times with different groups, and this is the final version of the map, because first wasn't clear enough. The skulls were not prominent enough, so players didn't know what to do. And if you're in the room and you kind of get lost a little bit, so you start touching absolutely everything around you, you can spend some time on it, but then finally you realize that you're missing something. When you're outside and you're not finding an object or you're not finding the next clue soon enough, you just start walking. And that walking can take you very far. So our task as organizers is to make sure that the walking will not take the group so far. If you have a leader in the game, then the leader can describe the area of the game. It can be a part of the story. It can be just a normal introduction of the gaming area. Or if you're playing at the football field, for example, or some kind of schoolyard, then you can say that, okay, we're playing within the schoolyard. So with the leader of the game, that would be much easier to kind of limit the gaming area. So the first task is very easy. We start the game with this kind of a hook to basically demonstrate how the game works, so the participants can get into the logic of the game. And the first task is basically pointing them to a nearby map, and behind it there is quite obvious QR code number 2, which takes them to the next task. If the first task of the game is very difficult, is very challenging, then players will get lost right away and they will feel discouraged to continue, and probably they will lose interest in the game altogether already in the first few minutes of the game. So the first task should be kind of getting into it, creating this easy win in order to start the game flow. Then we continue, and participants see that there is the QR code that they need to scan, which takes them to the next task and the next hint which they have to read and solve. Now, we decided to make our game linear because it's a small group and because we put QR codes all over the area and they can be easily visible by people who are just wandering around. And we were kind of faced with this challenge on how to make sure that participants don't just skip a certain task when they cannot solve it and just go looking around for those big stickers, because we have like big stickers like that with the yellow logo of the game, which is quite visible, and then a QR code on the other side. And then they would just go like around and trying to find the next hints. So in this escape game on this platform, we make restrictions that you cannot just skip any task. You have to find a place, you have to scan the code, and you have to have already pre-scanned tasks number 1 and 2 in order to pass on to task number 3. So we try to restrict the way of how they skip the challenges. If you have a leader of the game, again, it makes the tasks much easier because the leader of the game can kind of be in this role of restricting participants to maybe go too far, or they can be, you're missing something still, we're still not done with this task, so let's continue working on that. And the game basically takes the participants through main characters and story of the Kalevala, the epics of one of the rooms, which is this adventure of stealing Sampo, the magical machine Sampo that produces all the kinds of resources to the one who holds it. And in our game, we have tested it with different groups and seen that it takes a little bit under 60 minutes, and players kind of feel the flow of the game. They understand that the time pressure is there, but it took us quite a bit of trial and error to input this time pressure. When you are in an indoor escape room, it's quite possible to have this time limitation. Maybe you have a clock on the wall that has the timer going from 60 to 0, and then players can see, oh, we're running out of time, we really need to hurry up. If you have a leader of the game, then leader can say, you guys, you have 15 minutes left, you have to hurry up. If you have, again, an indoor room, you can start playing music, like the music builds the pressure of getting louder, and maybe heartbeat is getting faster. Maybe there is some kind of ominous music playing as you're approaching some serious point in the game. But what if you're outside and there is absolutely nothing? How do you make story difficult or like scary for the participants, or the mystery building this time pressure when there is sun shining outside, there is absolutely no one around? For us, what we did, we asked participants in the beginning to set the timer on their phone to time 60 minutes for themselves, and then we use a description in different tasks to say, your time is running out, hurry up. You can already see that one of your teammates is giving up, or you can see that the darkness is getting around you. But basically you have to create this fake time pressure and this kind of nervousness of the game to make sure that the team is keeping track of time, basically in every task of the game. Because if you don't do that, people forget that they have time pressure and they just focus on playing the game. So building suspense is something that we had to really try very hard. And then we try to take youngsters who played around our area, around area of Hyvärilä. We give them different tasks that they have to solve challenges with photos or with jigsaw puzzle, or they have to read the text very carefully in order to figure out where to go. And we tie the storyline to certain locations in our area. So for example, if in the storyline our team of adventurers who went to steal this magic machine goes with a boat, then at a certain task we take our players to the boat and we say, this is the boat that you're taking in order to go and steal that magic machine. And in our game we make players play roles of those involved in the game. So they are kind of part of the team, and they have certain challenges, and they have to retrieve all the other members of the team in order to remember what has happened to them and why did they end up here on Lake Pielinen without remembering anything. In our game, we have 7 tasks. You have to solve them one by one, and then in the end you receive the final badge, and we finish the storyline with a summary of the full story. It is quite good to have in your game some kind of aha moment when your players kind of understand where everything is going from and to, and there may be some twist in the story that makes them realize that, hey, this all starts making sense now, in order to create also a little bit more realistic feel of being part of the story, when in fact you're just somewhere in a completely different location. And in our game we used Animaker to make the final video to kind of compress the whole story. Because in some parts we have noticed that participants would pay a little bit more attention to solving the riddles rather than doing kind of going through the story. And I would say that it's a big challenge as game organizers to make sure that your participants are not just solving riddles, but they're actually following the story. And that's why I really urge you to start with the building blocks as they described in module 2, and then with the creating of a timeline in module 3, and only finally with puzzles in the very end at module 4. In that way, you will have this kind of very logical template of involving players in the game and creating this learning experience, rather than having a mix of different puzzles and attached in some way